Hi, everyone. I am very excited to be here today. I'm going to be talking about my publishing journey and what the traditional publishing path looks like. And I decided to do this as a call because I've been getting a lot of questions. So, a little bit of background about me. I have been writing my entire life, ever since I could hold a pen, basically. I've always wanted to be a writer. For the most part, in my life, it was a hobby or something that just seemed kind of out of reach. And then about a year ago, I decided, you know what, this is what I really want to do. So I kind of opened my mind to the different possibilities. For the longest time, I was like, I really want to do my novels. I want to publish them in a traditional way, which, get an agent, go with one of the big five publishing houses, that sort of thing. And I had that mindset and that track. But again, about a year ago, I decided, wait a second, we don't have to do things that way. There's a lot more options now. That said, I did self-publish a children's book, Ed, Bed and the Beast, with my sister, after attempting to go the traditional route, but being told by an agent, like, hey, since you wrote it and your sister drew the illustrations, it's going to be a little bit harder to sell. So that's one of the reasons that we decided to self-publish. And it's been doing really well. And I love the book so much. And so that was the self-publishing part. But today I want to talk about traditional publishing because I have a contract with a small press, Apprentice House Press. And again, I've been getting a lot of questions about what this process looks like. I've had people ask me, okay, well, you already wrote the book, so why isn't that out? What stage am I at? When can we expect it? Those sorts of questions. So that's why I decided to make this video. So again, when I speak during this call, it's very much from my own experience, and it's just one example of what a publishing path might look like. Um, there's self-publishing, which can be kind of the quickest turnaround because you're kind of in control of the process, but it can be expensive depending on how you do it. There's also the hybrid option. There's a lot of great hybrid publishers out there. I know I have friends that work for them too, but there is some cost usually to it, but then you often keep all of the royalties because you paid for to get published. Um, and there's the traditional path, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. But again, with the traditional path, there's also a wide variety. So again, I'm going to be speaking from experience. Um, with the traditional path, you could have an agent. A lot of people do get an agent, but in being in the query trenches to get an agent can be a long and tedious process. So I will say that I did try to get an agent for this book at first, because again, I was really on that path of like, I want to publish the book in this way. I wanted to get past the gatekeepers, and I had got quite a few requests actually from different agents to read to read samples, things like that. And then I decided, after talking to an author that went with a small press, I decided, hey, this actually sounds interesting. It sounds like I might have a little bit more control of the process. And after talking to her, I decided to start submitting to small presses. And so I submitted my manuscript that I'd been working on and off for quite a while, which could be a video in itself. It's a young adult historical fantasy about the life of Charlotte Corday. There's time travel, there's magic, there's the French Revolution and riots in 2005, and there's a secret society. So there's a lot of research went into it. There's a lot of elements to it. Let's say that as well. And so the small press emailed me in February offering me a contract. I signed that contract after a little bit back and forth, giving some agents that already had my manuscript a chance to, um, you know, see if they wanted to represent me. And then I ultimately decided to go with the small press because it was a guarantee of publication. Even if you go with a literary agent, there's no guarantee until you have that contract. So I had the contract in hand. I signed it in March. And so right now we're still in the editing phase of the book. I got my feedback from my editor about a month ago or so, and I made some changes to my book, and now it's with beta readers. And what that means is I have beta readers that are reading it, and they're kind of taking a big picture look at it. Do the characters make sense to them? Does the plot make sense? Does everything kind of fit together? And I'm going to get feedback from them, and they have until the end of June to give me that feedback. And so I'm kind of waiting for that. And as I wait for that, I'm working on my marketing plan, because no matter what path you take, marketing is a big part of. Sorry about that. My screen decided to shut off for a second. Um, my uh, oh, I'm working on my marketing plan. I'm, posting on Substack. I'm getting the word out about my book, and because it's not going to be published for a year, but I want this runway to get ready so that people get to know me, get to know my journey, get to know about the book and why I wrote it. And that path, that runway up to the publication date, which will be in about a year, it'll be in the spring of 2027, is a time of getting ready, basically, and making sure that the book is as good as it possibly can be, having various eyes on it. So the big question. So what does that process look like? And that's the purpose of why I decided to have this Q&A. So I see some people on here. If you have, Jeff, I see, if you have any questions, feel free to ask away. I'm happy to answer them. So right now, again, I have it with beta readers. So they're going to give me feedback by the end of June. And I have a sensitivity reader. And a sensitivity reader is somebody who takes a look at anything that might be of a sensitive nature. Again, a big part of my book is about revolution, and there's some police riots in there. So that, and then there's an element of about immigration in France. So I have somebody who actually works in immigration reading two people actually reading the book and giving me any feedback that they have about whether or not it's accurate. I mean, I say accurate. Maybe actually accurate is not the right word, because it's a fantasy book too. You got to keep that in mind. But gosh, what's the right word? When you have a sensitivity reader, you just want to make sure that you are fully honoring the lived experiences of the people that may have actually lived that moment in time. And the 2005 riots were really big. You can look them up online. There's a lot of different stories about them. I mean, Paris and France have had riots, over the centuries. But in 2005, it was set off by a police identity check, and two boys were killed. And so that is in there, and it's based on real events. And so that's why I have a sensitivity reader. So the beta readers, the sensitivity readers, they are all reading my book and giving me feedback by the end of June. So after that, in July and August, I will make my edits. I'll clean it up. Then I'll get it to a proofreader, and the proofreader will have some time in August to make sure that it's consistent. It's not just about making sure the comma's in the right place, but everything is consistent. There's a lot of different characters, making sure the characters are always spelled the same way, that sort of thing. And then I turn in my final draft in September. So you might think, oh, why is your book not being published then, Liz? Because there's still work to be done. So September, it goes to the press, and it gets formatted, and that's when the cover is designed. And because it's a small press, Apprentice House Press allows their authors to kind of have some say and input into the cover design, which I'm glad that I have some input. Not all presses will do that. And I'll have the cover in the fall, and I will definitely be sharing that once that is available, just as a little bit of a teaser. I have some ideas in my mind, but I'm really curious to see what the team at Apprentice House Press comes up with, because they're the ones ultimately designing it. They want to make sure it fits into the shelves, right? Like, if it's a young adult historical fantasy, so it needs to kind of have that element. I do have some ideas, and I'm, again, not promising anything because it could change, but there is a lot of artwork about Charlotte Corday out there. And so I could kind of see it like maybe as a painting cover that's kind of back on trend now too, that it looks like it was painted, but there's other elements too in the cover design. So I can't wait to see what they say about what they suggest. So cover design, formatting, that all happens in like September, October timeframe. And then it goes to the printer. And in December, I will get a box of books, my advanced reader copies. I cannot wait. It will actually finally feel real. And those advanced reader copies come to me in December. And so again, you might be like, okay, Liz, why is your book not being published in December? Because I want people to start talking about my book before it actually launches. So a lot of people that work in publishing say, you want a few months between the advanced reader copy and when it actually goes on sale. So pre-orders will be available in December once I have those advanced reader copies. But the sale date and the launch date will not be in the until the the spring. So when I have those advanced reader copies, I'm going to be sending them out to book reviewers. I'm going to be sending them out to people that I think would be interested in the book and that will help hype me up, in the book up, not just me. Um, and so that is, again, that's December. And part of that, and I have an invitation for any of you listening today, is I'm going to put together a street team. And what that looks like in this day and age with the internet is having people who want to read an advanced copy of the book and talk about it, online. And I can give graphics and posts and things like that to help, people talk about it. And it's just a way of getting the word out, because actually with any book, the pre-order sales make a huge difference to how successful the book will be. And the reason I say that is those pre-order sales help push you up in the rankings on any website, but I'm also, thinking of Amazon, because that's where a lot of people still shop for books. So those pre-orders are really, really key to having a successful launch day. So again, the December is kind of like a big moment in my timeline of events, for publishing my book. Um, so wait, I have my book in December, but it's not coming out until either April or May. I don't have a firm date yet. So what am I doing in that in between, right? Like, what else is going on? Well, one, I should have my second novel submitted to my publisher, because this is hopefully the first in a series. But so I'll be working on that, but I'll also be, again, working on all the marketing and things like that. The press I work with, they give some feedback on marketing and some ideas on things to do. But as you'll see, whether you self-publish, hybrid publishing, or traditional publishing, a lot of the marketing these days, even if unless you're like a huge name that people know, it's really up to the author. It's really up to me to like get the word out. So the press will help with it, that somewhat, I mean, they're a small press. They have limited resources. So I do need to market myself as much as possible. And to be honest, that's something that can be hard for me to do. So it is going to be, it's a practice in being visible, basically. So again, if you see a post that like resonates with you, or you're like, oh, this sounds intriguing, I know somebody who would like that, I would love you to, help me spread the word and things like that, because that makes such a big difference in the success of any book. So that's what I'll be doing in the between December and April, May. I will have a date soon, I promise. Um, April, May, when the book actually goes live and is available for purchase. And then, yeah, then I'll have my launch in just about under a year, which still seems kind of crazy to me. I know I ran through that a little bit fast, but that's the basically the process. I just summed up how many years of work into, gosh, 13 minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in, whether you're watching live or the replay. I'm happy to answer them. Um, what else do I want to say about this? I'm going to be sharing a lot about my process and how I came to this idea for this book, on Substack. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Oh, thank you, Erin. Yes, I will definitely put you on my list of people who maybe want to join the street team and help spread the word. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Um, yeah, and again, yeah, that invitation is open to any of my subscribers or followers here on Substack. That if you want to take part in helping me spread the word, just let me know. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. It's through reading, doing an advanced reading of the book, and sharing about it online, putting it on Goodreads, doing a book review if you want, or just doing a social media post and just spreading the word. So again, yeah, that's basically the process. It takes about a year in total, in terms of from the date I sign the contract to the date it actually goes available for purchase. And traditional publishing in general is a lot like that. But again, my experience might be different from like a big five publisher. There's more hands in the pot, if you will, in terms of the editing, the proofreading, the marketing. So, but I have to say, so far, I have loved this process. I've loved working with a small press. I love that I get a say in like the cover design, that I get, final say in like any changes to the book. Because sometimes you don't, like sometimes a publisher will be like, we need something else here. and I have really enjoyed my experience with Apprentice House Press so far. So on that note, oh, and I have another question. I missed the beginning. What happens after the contract is signed? Does it go into edits, and how much say do you have into that? Um, so Erin, yes, so I did talk a little bit about that at the beginning, but actually, why don't I answer that question about how much say I have in the edits? This is totally speaking from personal experience because again, every publisher will be different. For me, I have a ton of say because of the small press model that the Apprentice House Press has. Um, they, when we, after I signed the contract, which was, I signed it really early March, I believe, and then I got my edits early May. So at that point, the press, they had only picked, gosh, like 9% of the books that had been submitted for the year, and because they're a small press with limited resources, they told us that they only chose books that they felt were really well formed already and didn't need a lot of developmental edits. And the developmental edits are basically like if you need a big structure change, or like you need a new character, you need a new like you need more romance, you need more mystery, you need like something big needs to happen with the edits. Mine did not need that, and none of the other people in my cohort of people who are being published in 2027 through the press needed big edits. So a lot of the stuff was pretty minor, and what they did is they shared the edits with me, and then I made those changes, but now it's with beta readers and they're going to give me feedback too. So the edits, I have complete say, and I will turn in the final draft to them in September. And again, they might push back on something, be like, "Hey, we really need to change this," and we talk about it. So that's one of the reasons I really like this press, is that I have that say. I have heard stories from others who have worked with big presses where you don't have as much say. So again, I'm really just speaking from personal experience there. Um, yeah, but before I wrap it up, yeah, if anybody has any other questions, again, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you're listening to the replay, you can put them in the chat too, and I'll still reply. Um, Again, I feel like I've said this like 5 times, but I think it bears repeating. Everybody's experience will be different, and I know that some traditional publishers, it can take up to 2 years or so for a book to actually go through the entire process. So I do feel like even though it's a year, that it's my experience is a bit of a shorter time frame than some other traditional publishers, just based off of the model that Apprentice House Press works in. And every small press, as I've learned, is also very different. My press is actually the only student-run press in the U.S. Through a university, and it has oversight through the professors that are teaching the classes about editing and teaching the classes about formatting books and cover design and marketing and all that. So but what I actually really like about this press too is that this is my target audience. The people who are working on my book with me are the ones I'm hoping will read it, because it is a young adult historical fantasy that does cross over. It can interest both young adults as well as adults interested in alternate history. Um, but yeah, that's my experience. I feel like I could keep talking about this, but I just wanted to focus in on the process again about what it looks like, just so people can know, and so that when the next time somebody asks me, "You wrote the book, why is it not out yet?" I can tell them, "Hey, here's a video that I share how I go through the editing, does proofreading, design phase, marketing phase, and then launch." So that's the quick summary of it. Thank you again for tuning in. And again, I will be talking so much about this process and sharing what I learn as I go. So again, if you have any other questions, feel free to either message me here on Substack, or I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn. Those are the platforms that you can find me on. Thanks again, and I'll see you all live on here again soon. Bye.